there is an element in leadership that you need to hold that larger vision. You need to help guide people along that path. But as much as you can, have those communications. When someone comes to me with a question, I am annoying because I will go right back to them with a different question and say, well, what do you think we should do?
Leadership is everywhere. In our work, in our family, in our community. We see leaders by their actions. We know their legacy. This podcast is about leaders, people just like you, doing amazing things every day. I hope these stories inspire you, they motivate you, and they fuel your leadership legacy. My name is Vicki Guy. Welcome to Ignite.
Hi, and welcome to Ignite. Today we are digging into the concept of empowerment. And when we feel empowered, sometimes we feel like nothing can stop us. So how do we make others feel that same way? Well, our guest today, Lauren Douglas, gives us a glimpse into how she works with others to find empowerment. Lauren is the president of a successful marketing company called What's Happening Promotions, and she recently branched out to begin her own executive coaching business. In just a moment, we'll be right back to talk to Lauren.
My name is Dana Morrison. I'm the IT director at Grace Christian School in Raleigh, North Carolina. IT directors often hoard so much knowledge that it's hard for their team members to learn. IT Pro TV has given us the ability to level up our technicians to a point where they can decide this is important for me to learn. I would recommend IT Pro TV to any IT team. It's just a great tool for any IT professional.
Welcome back to Ignite. Today we are joined with Lauren Douglas, who is the president of What's Happening Promotions. Welcome, Lauren, to Ignite.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You are welcome. We're so happy to have you here today. You've got a lot of stories for us to share. And the biggest story that I want to start out with today is to talk about your company. Over the last few years, you have built a company. And I'm really interested in hearing a little bit about the journey that you've been on to get you where you are today.
Sure. So we are a marketing company. It was started in my senior year of college, and it's been such an amazing journey. And I look back, and honestly, really, it's been the team that we've developed that has really carried us forward. I wanted to create a sales environment where we were competitive in the marketplace, but not competitive with each other. And we've done that by really focusing on our culture. We're very particular about who we allow within these doors because we want that positive, motivating environment. Our mission statement is that we build relationships and we deliver excitement in everything we do by keeping a client-centered focus. That's how we make decisions within our company. And I know that translates out into the world. And honestly, I think that has been the most empowering part of all of this, is watching the team grow and supporting each other while keeping that client-centered focus. And that's really how we make our decisions within the company, through that lens.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good lens to work through. I'm wondering how you got to where you are, though, in terms of what made you decide to start the company, and then you had to build this thing one person at a time. How did this happen over time?
Sure. So I remember placing orders while I was still taking notes in college, sitting at my desk trying to do notes and then also place orders. It was very challenging, but I had to learn all of the ins and outs, from accounting to ordering to sales, just walking in, not really having any sales experience, and just creating that relationship, with my clients. We built a friendship. We didn't just build a client and salesperson relationship. It was really, these people became my friends. And my first employee, who I hired, she came in with these bright red shoes. And I was like, this is awesome. I wouldn't recommend hiring somebody just based off of their shoes, but we knew that it was a really good fit. So I brought her on, I showed her everything that I did. And, releasing that control, I think, was the most challenging part for me. Just handing over our clients and watching her grow. And, it was definitely a lesson in control, but I realized by stepping back a little bit, still keeping that vision, but stepping back, it allowed her to grow. And then we were able to add on more team members. And from that, we were able to build a leadership team. And she's still with me today, and that's been over a decade. So, It's been a journey for sure. We've gone ups and downs, but year over year, we've increased our sales, and in doing so, we've increased our team.
So what do you think has been the secret to success for your organization? You mentioned you had one person that you hired with the red shoes, and she was a great fit. But what has been sort of the magic that you've been able to create? Has there been something that you've done yourself or you've shared with other people in the organization to help grow and create the success that you've had?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I started this out is I hired my weakness. I got really, really self-aware, and I hired my weaknesses. And in doing so, I was able to build various departments, which actually really came into play because you can hire specifically for those departmental needs. But it started out with knowing my weakness by being self-aware. And in doing that, I translated that down to our leadership team. While them knowing their weakness, we were able to build a team mentality where we supported each other. And I think that has really been the most successful part of our business, is building a team.
Yeah, and knowing your weaknesses is you have to be a little bit vulnerable to be able to do that, right? And then be able to bring somebody in to complement what you're good at. So there's a bit of humility that goes into building that team, it sounds like, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So over the years, what would you say you're most proud of in terms of building this team or building the company? Or you said the friendships with your clients. Is there something that comes to mind that you're most proud of that you think this was one of the reasons that we've been so successful?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think about that one. So a couple of years ago, I went horseback riding in Arizona on this really challenging landscape on the side of a mountain. And I had this horse. His name was Oliver, okay? I say he was a horse, but he was actually a pig because this horse would not stop eating. It was the most challenging thing to try and move this horse forward when it didn't want to go. And I realized during that time that, riding a horse, owning a business, it is really such a team project. One cannot move without the other unless you have that mutual respect where one is driving the vision, but it's really the team that's moving the organization. And I've known that for a very long time. And to see that process and to see our team moving forward, and I see our leadership team setting their own goals, accomplishing their goals, and then we stop to celebrate when they do that. It is so amazing to me to see their transformation throughout that process. And I've gotten to know them all so well because they've worked here for so long, and I see their life paths and the challenges they've come across and how they move through them, and I'm learning from them every day, and it's amazing. I'm so blessed to be able to help guide along this process. I think that's been my most proud moment, is just watching them move forward and knowing that I may have had a small impact in that. I love that.
Yeah. So really igniting the leaders within them, and using the name of the podcast here, right? So igniting the leaders within them and empowering them to be the best that they can be has really been, has worked well for you, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. This empowerment that you've been able to see in others and helping them grow, that's probably bled into other areas of your life. You've probably learned something in building this company, and maybe you don't even realize you're doing it, but it's happened in other parts of activities that you're in or organizations that you belong to. Can you give us an example of something that you've done that maybe that same thing has worked really well?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few years ago, I came across a curriculum. It's called Rad Kids. It's a national-based organization, and they work on teaching children empowerment skills to prevent bullying, abductions, assaults. And it teaches the children how to think during a crisis. And that just sat so well with me because that is really what I do in business. I don't tell our team members what needs to happen. I allow them that room to grow so that they can identify what needs they have in their departments, where they want to start moving things forward, what additional responsibilities we need to add, what new team members we need to grow. And in doing that, it empowers and it trickles down everywhere. And those two just complement each other so well. I love empowering people around me. It's my driving force. It's why I got into coaching, because I feel like you have all the answers within you. You just might need someone else to get them out a little bit.
To kind of help you along. Well, you know,
Yeah.
what's really interesting is that the whole topic of empowerment really does link very closely to that idea of control or giving up control. Has that been challenging, or do you think that it's challenging for other people to do in order to empower others to be their best?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like when I started the company, I had to have a certain skill set as an entrepreneur, which was this insatiable drive to get it done, right? I can do and will do anything to get that sale and move in the direction of delivering the products. It was exhausting, to say the least, but that's what you do as an entrepreneur. You work almost 24 hours a day. You sacrifice a lot, but that's part of the job. Then when I started bringing on employees, I had to get into a management position, which is a completely different skill set, right? You have to allow for mistakes. You have to let go of control. You have to coach and empower and let people grow in the way that they're supposed to grow. Now it's more of a board of directors role where I still hold the vision, but now our leadership team is doing all of that management process and growing our team members and as individuals as well as company representatives. And it's such a different skill set. And each time you have to let go of control at each step. But I'm so glad that I have, because had I not let go of that control to begin with, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Well, I'm wondering, as you're talking through this, if you can give us some ideas like what that looks like. So is there a situation or a time where, you know, you've had to let up on the control of an idea or a task or a process or whatever it was and empowered somebody else to do it, whether it's within your company or within RadKids, the experience that you've had with them? Can you give us an idea of what that looks like and what tangible things happen when someone does give up a bit of control to empower others?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 years ago, I did this crazy challenge where you had to climb 25 feet in the air and walk across this log. Okay. It was terrifying.
I bet.
It was terrifying. It was terrifying. So I climb up. I'm completely out of breath. I look down. The ground is underneath. I'm strapped in, luckily, but still, I mean, there's nothing to hold on to. So I look down and I'm like, how am I going to get across this 25-foot log?
I would go backward.
Yeah, right.
I'd go back.
I thought about it, closing my eyes and just going. And if I fall, I fall. Hopefully somebody catches me. However, what I did do is I looked down and I saw all these little nodules, right? And I was like, okay, those are little benchmarks. I'll just go step by step into the little benchmarks. And that's what I did. And eventually I made it all the way across. And I learned through that process that having such a large goal can be very intimidating. You don't necessarily know what's going to happen. You might fall, right? But if you take these smaller benchmarks, you can move along the path relatively easily. So I brought this story back to the team and I said, guys, I think we need to change everything. We're not just going to focus on this goal, which is stressing everybody out. It's breaking down communication. I can tell the organization is just unhappy. Now we are going to focus on benchmarks. We're going to still keep that large goal, but we're going to really focus on these benchmarks. And I'm so proud to say that that worked so well because people relaxed. They understood the process now a little bit more. It took that pressure off of people. And now we're even higher than what our original goal was to begin with. So to me, just making that little shift in empowerment to say, no, focus on the smaller area. Don't focus on the big picture. That really, it changed everything, I think.
And those small steps, those milestones that you were able to define with the team, were those things that you defined or did they define? How did you guys come up with those steps to take to get to meet your larger goal?
Sure. So it's always a conversation between the leadership team and then their team members. You know, I don't want to go to someone and say, this is what I want you to do. You have to perform this. But there is an element in leadership that you need to hold that larger vision. You need to help guide people along that path. But as much as you can, have those communications. You know, when someone comes to me with a question, I am annoying because I will go right back to them with a different question and say, well, what do you think we should do?
Ooh.
You know, and now, yeah, they hated it to start with it, but now they love it. They understand that it's really their decisions that are impacting the growth of the company, because now we're so large. There's no way I could possibly do this alone. And I need those decision makers at the top. And the only way I can do that is if I'm processing or if I'm coaching them through that process every day until they can stand on their own. And that's what they do.
Yeah. And it's almost like having these milestones and then putting that question back on whoever it is that you're talking to is really encouraging them to think. And sometimes we take that for granted. We are so used to people telling us what to do in so many parts of our lives. And then when someone says, wait, what do you think? What do you think is the next thing to do? And you're having to put the onus on yourself. It really does. You either rise to the occasion or you don't. And I think that's really what separates, what sounds like has separated success from not within your organization. So really great examples on that. I'm wondering if other people have played a role in your success. So, in terms of the company that you've been a part of in building, and also some of the other experiences that you've had throughout your life where you've seen that empowerment and letting go of some of the control of the decisions and creating milestones along the way. Have you seen that it's been important to involve others, or do you feel like this is something that as a leader you have to drive solo and then bring others along with you?
Yeah, I think what's so important is that you celebrate along the way, right? Because we can get so caught up in this end destination, but in reality, it's the journey that is so inspiring and so moving. I just went to the Grand Canyon and I rafted down that, and we pulled off, and I stepped out and I went on this rocky path, right? There's all these different kinds of shapes and color rocks, and they're beautiful. Some of them are jagged, some of them are gigantic, and I spent all of my time just looking down at my feet, making sure that I got across this path, right? What I forgot to do was look up, and there was this beautiful mountain range all around, and I realized, like, we can get so caught up in getting to that end destination, that end point, that we forget to look around us. And everyone in my life has inspired me. I would not be here where I am now if they weren't there for me in one way or another. I take lessons from every experience I have. I'm so thankful to the people that I have surrounded myself with, that I can be included in their lives and they can be included in my life, and we support and help each other along our journey.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it's about. It's about celebrating along the way with the people you love.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that it's not just so many people think that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it by myself. And, there's that joke or the old saying, it takes a village. But what you're saying is it really does. And that experience along the way is what really counts. So thank you for sharing some of your stories today, Lauren. I really appreciate the time that you've given us today. And really what I take out of this, and I'm sure that people that listen to this is going to take out of it as well, is that empowering others to be the best they can be, and then celebrating the success along the way is really what's most important. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for helping us ignite the leaders within you and everybody else. And we'll see you next time.
Vicki, it was such a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for what you're doing. It's very inspiring.
Enjoying Ignite? Then you'll want to check out Technado, another podcast from the IT Pro TV network. In each episode, hosts Peter and Don recap the week's top tech news and interview IT experts from around the globe. Learn more at itpro.tv/podcasts.
Great talking to Lauren today. I heard several tips that I know will be helpful to empower those around us. First, hire for your weaknesses, and don't be afraid to let go of some of that control. Next, challenge your team to work together for healthy competition. And finally, keep in mind the importance of mutual respect. It goes a long way. Thank you for joining us today on Ignite. Please follow us at Ignite Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And from all of us here at Ignite, I'm Vicki Guy.